I'm here to talk to you about giving voice to good ideas. Now, just a little audience participation. How many of you consider yourselves to be introverts? Yeah, it's just typical of introverts. I'm sure there's a lot more of you out there. Okay, so you might be wondering, why am I shamelessly sharing a picture of my kids? Well, I promise in a minute you'll see why it's relevant. So this is a photo from our summer vacation. We went to Washington, D.C. My daughters, Danny and Danae, it was their first time. The weather was wonderful, and we had a great time. Now, here's a photo of us at Washington Dallas Airport. We're waiting for our plane to take us back to the Bay Area. And on the left side, you can see my daughter, Danae. She's a social butterfly. She's just quickly made some new friends, and she's the center of attention. And on the right side is my daughter, Danny, and she's happily sitting by herself, engrossed in Minecraft. And it turns out Danny takes after her dad. We're both introverts. And just to say a few quick words about introversion, while it's true introverts can sometimes be shy and socially awkward, that's actually not what introversion is about. Introverts, we may enjoy social interaction, but it drains us. And so to recharge, we need time alone. And we like to spend time on solitary activities. So in Danny's case, she loves Minecraft. She's an avid reader. She's only in the 3rd grade, but she reads at a 7th grade level. I don't know who Danae takes after. Now, another audience participation. Which one of these famous people is an introvert? Yeah, that's right. It's a trick question. They're all introverts. In fact, Intuit's founder, Scott Cook, is also an introvert. So it turns out introverts have a lot of value to give to the world. And in the workplace, they're going to have lots of different personalities. And it's important, if you're going to give voice to good ideas, that the voices of introverts are not drowned out by louder voices. Now, let me very quickly tell you about Intuit for those of you who are not familiar with it. A little over 30 years ago, our founder, Scott, was in the kitchen observing his wife at the table, trying to balance their checkbook. And she was frustrated and struggling with it. And Scott thought to himself, well, there's got to be a better way. And that led to Quicken. And since then, Intuit has been in the business of improving our customers' financial lives. And when we do it well, we improve them so profoundly, people can't imagine going back to doing things the old way. Now, at Intuit, innovation is everyone's job. And so we are all taught 2 core capabilities. The first is customer-driven innovation. This is how we select the problems that we work on. And so we try to find an important unsolved customer problem that we and those we enable can solve well, and that over time we can build a durable competitive advantage. And then there's design for delight. This is how we solve those problems. We start with getting deep customer empathy. We like to think we want to understand our customers even better than they understand themselves. And then we go broad, consider many solutions before we narrow down to one. And finally, to get the solutions to be really awesome, we rapidly iterate and experiment with customers. So this way, every Intuit employee can come up with ideas that can drive our growth. And so I want to share with you 3 specific programs that we run to nurture this culture of innovation. Now, the first is Unstructured Time. Unstructured Time gives every employee time and freedom to work on the ideas that they're passionate about. Now, when I say every employee, I mean every employee. It's not just developers and product managers. It's people in legal, in finance, in HR. We all get 10% of our time to spend on these ideas, and we can aggregate them into contiguous blocks. And the principle here is, if an employee has a great idea, they're not going to be able to move it forward if they're totally consumed with their day job. Now, one great success that came out of Unstructured Time is the TurboTax mobile app. It might seem obvious today, but 6 years ago, the whole notion that you would do your taxes on a phone seemed totally absurd. But Carol and Amir, they had this epiphany. They said, you know, if we could make OCR work, we could have customers take pictures of their tax forms. And that would make doing their taxes really easy. And so they weren't movers and shakers in the organization, but they had unstructured time. So they were able to build a prototype, and that's what they used to show to senior leaders. And Amir says, it's hard to argue with working code, right? And Amir, he's an introvert. He says, I'm not a big talker. I like to have my craft do my talking for me. And he's a technologist. So fast forward to today, mobile is a big part of how Intuit is making doing your taxes easy. Now, the second program I'll talk about is the Lean Start-In. Now, this is a 2-day event that we hold where we teach employees how to apply the Lean Startup to their everyday jobs. We do about 100 of these in the company every year, and today we have trained over 2,000 employees. And what's really great is we found these techniques are not just great for customer-facing solutions, they're also great for process improvement. And talking about process improvement, this is Catherine Gregg. She's a leader in our financial operations. Catherine is actually an introvert as well. And she says, the thing about introverts, we deeply listen. Anyway, a couple of years ago in Tucson, Catherine led a Lean Startup event. And this way, she was able to train a whole organization on the Lean Startup techniques. And then after that, they started a process where every other week, they would get together for 3 hours to come up with solutions for their everyday problems. And out of this came a program where we proactively reach out to customers to keep their credit card information up to date. That saved the company over $8 million. Now, Catherine's organization has a great innovation culture. Every employee, including the employees who are on the phones, they feel empowered to create change. They are all entrepreneurs. And Catherine shares with me, they also feel like they can push back. When a boss comes and says, look, here's what I think we should do next, they can say, hold on a minute, that sounds like an assumption. Let's go test it first. And finally, let me tell you about Brainstorm. So Brainstorm is an idea collaboration tool that we use where employees can capture ideas such that the rest of the company can see them. So this way, if an employee in Mountain View has an idea, employees in Edmonton and Bangalore can see it and comment on it. An employee in Cambridge can say, hey, this sounds really cool, I want to join your team. And it turns out Brainstorm was actually created 8 years ago by a group of recent college hires in their unstructured time. And it's worked really well for us. We have to date over 10,000 ideas in Brainstorm. And in fact, one of our partner companies, they got wind of it and asked, hey, can we use it too? And so that gave us the idea to start selling it to other organizations. And so one of our customers who uses Brainstorm is Intermountain Healthcare. And so they shared with us the story of Dave Hall. So Dave is a database administrator at Intermountain, and in the last couple of years, he's been frustrated by the problem of failed backups. And the reason why it's really frustrating to him is whenever a backup fails, he's the one that gets paged, sometimes in the middle of the night. So what he did is he went onto Brainstorm and he created a challenge to say, hey, who has ideas on how we can improve the backup process? And so this way, Dave was able to mobilize his peers to contribute a ton of ideas on how they could improve the backup process. And several of them actually got implemented and are now saving Intermountain over $100,000 in time and resources every year. Okay, so in conclusion, if you start to think about how can you create a culture that gives voice to good ideas, the 3 tips are, first, give employees time and freedom to work on their ideas. They're a valuable resource. Second, give them the skills and the knowledge on how to innovate and take those ideas forward. And then finally, give them a forum in which they can share those ideas with other employees. Thank you very much.